So, um, kick us off by saying thank you for everyone who is attending or you're watching the recording later. Appreciate your guys' time as we kind of go through some conversations with Ethan Graham, who moved from Keller Williams to Epique Realty, and just have a dialogue about agents changing brokerages because sometimes it's people are maybe overwhelmed by it, worried about it, not sure where to even start or where to even look. And so we're just going to have kind of a conversation about that. But real quick, I want to introduce myself. I'm JJ Johannes. I am the state broker in Iowa for Epique Realty. Been involved in real estate since 2003. Before that, and during a little bit of the early 2000s, I was involved in a lot of technology, website, database development, stuff like that. I've had my own brokerage. Now I'm the state broker for Epique Realty, and so just enjoy helping clients and helping agents with their business. So I'm gonna kick it over to Matt, who's on that way. Let him introduce himself as well.
Good morning, everyone. As Jay just said, my name is Matt Clark. I have been involved in real estate as an agent since 2016, so hard to believe it's been almost 10 years at this point. Been a solo agent for most of my career, do have a small team now. Started off at a smaller independent brokerage, brick and mortar, moved to a cloud-based brokerage a few years after that, and now currently I'm at Epique Realty, and I am the area leader here in the Cedar Rapids market. So, like I said, mostly a solo agent, but do have a small team currently. So kind of a good mix of both.
And next we'll have Ethan Graham introduce himself, and then we can kind of get some questions going after that. So Ethan, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Live and in person, baby. My name is Ethan Graham. I've been a real estate agent for about 4 years. I started with EXP Realty back in the day when I first joined. Loved that. There were some things that wasn't as big on, but we can talk about that in a minute. And then was over with Keller for a couple of years, and now I'm here, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Yep, we're excited to have you here as well. And one thing real quick, note is if you want to put any questions in the chat as we're going through things, I'll monitor that as well. I'm monitoring the chat. So if there's anything that you want to put in there for a question, definitely feel free to put that in there, and we'll kind of watch and maybe ask those during or and then in the end or wait till the end. So Ethan, I'll kick off the questions with this move from the standpoint of lots of times agents are curiously looking at places, talking to people. Some people are bound and determined, hey, the next time my cap resets, I'm going to make the move. And other people like, I am good. I am not moving. And then sometimes it takes something, that really changes that perspective before they make that move. So like, where were you at from making this move? Were in 2025, were you thinking, oh, I'm going to make a move this year? Or were you happy? Or you're just kind of this casually always learning about what opportunities are out there for your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, when I first got started, you only know what you know, right? Like I didn't know anything different. I'm like, oh, EXP is good. Like let's rock and roll. Let's do this. But for me, as I've been in the industry longer and I've realized kind of like, okay, how do I want to run my business? How do I want this to work? I've realized there's some things that are super important to me, wherever I'm at. A good friend of mine said, and I think it's funny, he's like, man, I'm a mercenary when it comes to this stuff. He's like, there's people who are like, man, I've been with this brokerage for like 30 years, and I'm proud of it. And he's like, and dude, more power to them. Like if they love where they're at, awesome. He's like, but me, I'm a mercenary. And I'd say I'm the same way. I'm always looking, not necessarily for the next best thing, but I'm looking for the place that my business is going to be the most successful in, right? And I think you can have success wherever you are if you're disciplined and committed to your goals. But for me, it's more about like not just the support I'm getting, but what tools are open to me for my business. And so when I was thinking about like, okay, when I was with EXP, one thing I really liked is that it was a virtual brokerage. I just, and some of the bigger companies in town, they've got the big buildings, you walk and you're like, wow, this is nice, and that's great. But that's just not me. I'm like, where do I spend most of my time? If I'm in an office, I'm going to be talking to people. I'm going to get very little work done. I just know myself. I just know myself. And I think most agents would be like, yeah, we're people, right? We got in this industry. We like talking to people generally. So for me, I'm like, if I do that, I just see my productivity dropping. So the previous brokerage I was at, I didn't really utilize the office. I didn't really have a desire to rent a space or to hang out or do all that. I'd go to events, but I'm not going to be unfriendly. But when it's time to like put my nose to the grindstone, I'm like, where do I spend most of my time? My home office, my car, seller's tables, or coffee shops when I'm taking clients out for buyer agreements. Like that's literally that's part of the gig, right? I don't spend a lot of time, hey, come on over to the office or hey, we just had a walk-in. I think that's maybe an older way of doing business. No offense to those who have done business that way for a long time. I'm just my opinion, my experience, that's not really how I do business. So what kind of drew me when I was over at my previous brokerage, I was kind of chewing around the idea always of like, what are my options right now? Because I'm aware of EXP. But since the EXP days, there's been a bunch of companies that have popped up. There's several that have popped up. And the two big ones that I was considering was Epic or Real. Those were the two that I was considering. And I'm trying to remember your original question, JJ, but what really kind of turned me on and kind of like I was aware of it, but I kind of had one idea of what I thought it was versus what it actually was. And I think what switched for me was when I actually went to an event that you guys put on and I had a chance to kind of come and really like dive into, okay, what is this actually all about? Like I am actually interested. I want to know like what are they selling, you know, and then I'll decide for myself if I think this is something that would help my business or not. And after I went through that and heard a little bit more, and I realized my expectations were off. So I thought Epic was this. In reality, it was this. And that helped me. And it was like, this is a no-brainer. Why wouldn't I do this? This is stupid not to switch over. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the original question, and you answered it too, was it sounds like you're someone who's always curious. You're always curious what's out there, right?
Absolutely.
You're curious to what can help your business and what might help you with your business. And I can speak for myself, like because I was at EXP as well previously, I was not looking. I had no intention of moving. And it was a presentation to me of Epic, and I remember thinking, oh crap, I have to take this serious because the idea that when I saw it was I can see how this benefits my business. I can see how this benefits me personally in so many different ways that I'm not getting at EXP. And I didn't think anybody was going to surpass what I could get from that perspective. And so I still remember the next day I had a Zoom meeting with a couple people within Epic that would be eventually in my upline. And my wife, Kathy, is literally sitting right off camera. So she'd be sitting right over here because she couldn't believe I was thinking about this. And we got off the Zoom and I turned to her and she's like, yeah, I think you need to move. She was just blown away. So kind of the same thing, but I was into it. You're curious always, which I know Matt really well in the sense that he's always curious. I was like, I'm good. Like, I'm not moving. I'm never moving. So, agents can be in different phases of how they approach this. So,
And I just wanted to say to that too. It's always interesting to me like whenever I've in the past when I have switched, I've only done that twice, but when I've switched, there's usually a handful of agents that will like reach out and just be like, "Oh man, what happened? You know, like what's wrong? You know, like did something happen?" I'm like, "No, I have good relationships with the people at both companies. Like I have
yep.
no there's no like dirt, there's no like big deal like, oh my gosh, this happened. I can't believe it. None of that. Like we're all professionals doing business. But at the end of the day, and I think this is the thing that kind of blows my mind with whether it's agents I've worked with at the past or just at previous brokerages or just right now that I know, it blows me away that they're not curious, that there's never like there's the old saying, trust but verify, right? Like just because you hear something doesn't mean it's true. So for me, I'm like, I'm always looking at other opportunities, not because I think any of these other companies are bad. I'm just trying to think what is going to be best for my business? What is going to position me to be able to serve my clients to the highest level possible, to be the most efficient, the most effective in what I do. And that's kind of like, that's just all there is to it. It's not personal. It's just business.
I think the being curious is a big thing because JJ kind of alluded to it. Like I've always been curious. When I was at my independent brokerage, I was incredibly curious. I would take every coffee date. Like, what's wrong with a free coffee and conversation? To me, I reveled in the opportunity to get to learn something that I didn't know about. Because that's what you said in the very beginning is you just didn't know what you didn't know. And I think a lot of agents can probably relate to that if they really sit and think about it. And so I feel like I've been someone who's been curious throughout my career, over 9 years. Yeah, I think a mercenary, that's a really good way of putting it. I never thought about it like that, but what you're saying, I'm totally relating to. So, through your curiosity, right? I would say what initially caught your attention about Epic specifically that made you curious or made you want to come to that event, which thank you for giving the props to the event. I organized a vast majority of that, so I'm going to take a little credit there.
Let's
Uh,
go. Let's go.
yeah, actually, it was a really fun event. So I'm happy you attended, and I'm glad your curiosity got you to at least check us out and at least see what you didn't know. So, what about Epic kind of spiked that curiosity to even attend our event in July?
Yeah, well, I'm being real honest. Honestly, it was some of the former guys like yourself, JJ, Randon, a few others that had originally been with EXP back in the day, and I saw you guys all switch over. And in my mind, at the time, I was just thinking, again, right, my what I thought it was like versus reality, right? And I'm hearing stuff about like, oh yeah, you get a free car wash and stuff. I'm like, man, that just sounds so gimmicky. I don't have like any interest in that. But what did actually like catch my attention was I was like, I know these guys. Like, if it was just gimmicky, there's no way they would have left EXP and jump ship over here. So there's got to be a bigger reason. But I don't want to say it's just lazy on my part, but I just like we're all busy, right? Like, no, if you're a good agent, you're not just sitting on your hands, right? You're running around, you're trying to build systems, you're trying to be more efficient, you're trying to serve the clients that you're working with. So like life just kind of happens, right? So I'm just kind of like doing my day to day. But every once in a while, I'd see a post or I'd see a note or something from you guys online, just mentioning like, hey, here's kind of what we're doing. Hey, if you've ever been curious, here's what's going on. And I'm like, well, yeah, I am still kind of curious. Surely it's more than just this stinking car wash. But again, like most things in real estate, it's all about timing, right? And so for me, it just happened that it lined up perfectly. What, and that wasn't even going to line up. I had another event that night that actually got moved. And I'm like, yes, I can go. This is going to be great. And then actually like learning what it was, that's what sold me. I'm like, I'd be an idiot not to do. And honestly, I would have like moved right then and there, but I just wanted to finish out that 100% cap year. So,
Yep. Yeah, and that's, something that it can be kind of interesting that, agents will see like the car wash thing, and it's just one of the 90 plus benefits we have, but that's the one that gets used the most. It's something that people see. And so, yes, I don't think we would have moved over if it was just car washes. That is for sure. Because I never used car washes. I mean, I used car washes. I didn't have a membership before. I'd go once a month, maybe. But now I go probably 2 or 3 times a week. So I love it. But yeah, it definitely wasn't just car washes. So when you were looking at the different benefits that Epic had, sometimes I find, because this is something I found when I looked at it, there's sometimes stuff that is not even in our purview. We can't even see it. Like there's a pain point that you don't even know you have until you see that there's another opportunity out there, and you're like, oh, now that's a pain point for me. I didn't realize I didn't have that, right? What was it about Epic that was there a pain point that you had that you saw being solved through Epic, or a pain point you didn't even know you had, and then when you're sitting through that presentation that we were doing, you're like, I didn't even realize I had this pain point. What because now it is a pain point because I see this opportunity. What did you see? Is there more than one thing or multiple things with that?
yeah, yeah. So I think there was a few things. Three things specifically. I mean, obviously, like you said, there's like 90 plus benefits. In my mind, that's just like the icing on the cake. But the things that I really wanted was I was like, okay, as we look at our specific market, right? And I'm sure every market varies, but when I say our market, I'm talking about like the Cedar Rapids market specifically. Um, I don't know how much of this is true, but I'd heard that there were several brokerages in town that were increasing their costs, specifically around like their cap, right? And what they charge their agents. I don't know if they also increased their monthly cost or just what that looked like. But it seemed like every time I turned around for a while, that was all people were talking about is, oh yeah, so and so just raised their cap, or this company just increased their total cost to the agent. And I just kept thinking to myself, I'm like, man, this kind of stinks, like, I mean, I get it. I get, cost of business, right? Like sometimes you don't have a choice, but I'm like, there's got to be a better option, right? So that was kind of a pain point I was considering. And and I'll talk about that in a minute, but the other thing that I was really like wrestling with too was my previous brokerage, there was no option for buy-in, so to speak, right? Like if I wanted to be an investor in the company, there's not really an opportunity for that. And then for the few opportunities there are, and I'm sure every company is different in how they do that and operate and all of that. But even if there was an opportunity that popped up, you had to have a substantial amount of capital to be an investor, right? It almost felt like more of like a what are those groups? Syndication. It almost felt like a syndication almost, where it's like, hey, you got to bring some serious dough to the table if you want to be a player. And I'm like, I would love that. But I'm a small potatoes agent, man. Like I'm not there yet. I maybe someday, but not right now in my current state. And that was always a bummer to me, as I'm like, I wish there was a way that I could have some ownership, right? And be able to maybe get something back from that, like a dividend or something. And that's one thing I liked about EXP. But what I didn't like about EXP, and I'm not trying to throw EXP under the bus, any agent out there, EXP is a great company. But one thing that I didn't like about that at the time was it always felt like there was one more hoop to jump through. There's one more hoop to jump through. It's like, yeah, we're going to give you this. Hey, you can buy in, right? We're going to give you some stock options. It's going to be great. I'm like, awesome. But here's the fine print. And I'm like, son of a gun every time. So I guess those two things specifically really like in the back of my mind were always kind of eating at me, going, man, I'm not really getting much when I cap, like like here's an award, like congratulations, like and awesome. I love that I'm at least recognized, but that doesn't really change the fact as far as like I'm not seeing any sort of like investment and like return on the effort I'm putting in. So it's a really long way of explaining. If we circle back now to Epic, one thing that I feel like Epic was solving for me is they're like, hey, right now in a season where other companies are raising their costs, guess what, bro? Every year that you stay with us, we're going to decrease your cost. And I'm like, what? Like, say what now? Like, you have my attention. Like, tell me more. And they're like, we're so glad you asked, right? Like, so instead of having it like, starting at 15 and oh, sorry, Ethan, next year we're actually going to raise it to 20. Sorry, bro, but it's all good, right? Like, you're good for it. Instead of doing that, they're like, no, every year that you stay with us, we are going to drop it by $1,000. I'm like, hello, like shut up and take my money, right? Like let's do this. And then so that was great. That solved kind of one pain point for me. But I think another pain point was they said, hey, we recognize that we want to give options for agents to kind of have some of that ownership, and you don't have to have 100K sitting on the shelf to be able to invest with us. In fact, we're going to let you invest with us from each paycheck if you want to. And I'm like, what? This is amazing. But wait, there's more. Thanks, Billy Mays, right? Like, but wait, there's more. In addition to all of that, if you hit this benchmark, and it's one benchmark, not 10, not three steps with a sub step, and then you got to carry the X to get to here, and then we'll let you have it, right? Nope, none of that. One qualifier. That's it. 24 transactions, baby. You hit 24 transactions, and here is all of your cap back in company stock. And I'm like, say what now? I'm like, so you're gonna lower my costs, and you're gonna give me an opportunity for doing basically my job to get all my cap back? Shut up and take my money. Like, let's go, right? Like, so I think those are the two big ones, and obviously there's more to that than that. I guess one last one. I don't want to like talk the whole time here, but this is important, right? This is important. So the third big thing for me was other companies have some kind of model, whether it's profit share, rev share, whatever, but a lot of times, again, they just felt overly complicated to me. And this is one big reason why I ended up choosing Epic over Real. Not again, if you're a real agent, not trying to throw you under the bus, anything like that. But for me, in my business, I decided I was going to choose Epic because it's so simple. It's so stupid simple. There's no, like, again, there's not like a bunch of hoops to jump through. It's like, okay, you got to hit this qualifier, then you got to hit this, then you got to hit this, and then we're going to let you have access to rev share. Ain't none of that. It's, hey, if you help someone and you get them brought in and you're helping them and you're helping them succeed and they're doing well, we're going to reward you well for that. And I love it. And there's no pre-qualifiers. It's just straight up. here's the cash, right? I think like Tom Cruise, show me the money. I love it.
Absolutely.
I feel like too, Ethan, like I can't help but notice the similarities that to kind of the way me and JJ have looked at things over the years. Like there's a I also value like there's an opportunity to own something, right? Because like you said, I can't just small potatoes age. I can't just stroke a check and go buy a market or go buy a territory or what, some people they just don't have that ambition and I don't know that I necessarily would either, but there's an opportunity here where you can just do what you're already doing and then get some of that buy-in, right? And so, there's just opportunities that just don't exist in other formats. And I think we had some of that at EXP because, our time overlapped there, and that was some of the things that were incredibly appealing when I changed from my independent to that cloud-based model. But then, like you said, as you get into the business more and you kind of are aware of more things, you kind of learn things along the way and then you realize what's important to you. And when I made that change, that was super important to me. Um, and I feel like making this change to Epic, which has been almost 2 years at this point, it wasn't a change I was looking for, but it was a change that made a ton of sense because I already had that knowledge of like what this cloud-based ownership, kind of I feel like we're building a brokerage within a brokerage almost. I knew what that kind of felt like there, and I felt like here it was enhanced. So, I'm kind of hearing maybe a little bit of the same things for you. So, would you say that maybe was like your biggest influencer in your decision making, or is that just like, it sounds like it's one of many, but would you say that was your biggest influence, or what do you think just weighed in the most for you personally?
Yeah, I think those first two, right? I think those first two. And the reason for that, because anyone who runs a business is not just real estate, right? This is just like business 101. If you want to run a successful business, you have to track your expenses. You have to look at, okay, how much money is going out and how much money is coming in. And if I've got more money going out than money I've got coming in, that's a problem, right? You're not going to be in business very long. And so for me, it's not that it's not that any of these other brokerages are bad or that I had a terrible experience or anything like that. But one thing for me that's super important is like, what is the bottom line? And not just for today, like for the future. Like, what am I looking at 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Like what is this company doing in partnership, in tandem with me to set me up for success for my future, not just for today, not just right now, right? Like a car wash is great, sure. Love it. And I'm absolutely going to take advantage of that. But I think for me the bigger thing was um I love how they do the loyalty thing, right? Like I don't know, I could be wrong, but I don't think any other company out there is doing this. And if they are, I'm just not aware of it. But from what my limited knowledge, I don't think any other company out there is saying, "Hey, we want to incentivize you. We want to reward you for sticking it out with us, for doing business with us." And I like that because to me it feels like a partnership. It feels more than like oh, we have such a great culture, or oh, we have like really great training, or we got the best tech, or I feel like every company says that, but I'm like, but what are you actually doing? Like I get that. Every company does that. What is your value proposition, right? And for me, I think one big thing was they said, look, we're going to lower your costs, not just today, but in the future, and we're going to give you opportunities to have like something other than real estate. We're going to give you opportunities to diversify your business, right? Because what happens if, you know, 10 years from now, when AI takes over, it's not going to matter anyways, right? They start rolling out the T800s, who cares? But until that happens, right? Like it'd be great to have another revenue stream or another opportunity to be able to have like some of that ownership. So those are the two things, right? The opportunity to actually own stock in the company that I'm partnering with, and the fact that they're like, hey, we get that things are expensive. We get that you're a business owner. So if you decide to hang your hat with us for the long haul, we're going to make it easier for you to do business. Those are the two things, main things that really like, I was like, yes, let's rock and roll.
Well, and that's, it's good that you mentioned that because sometimes I'm, I guess, dumbfounded or surprised at how much agents don't look at their business as their business and
Mhm.
run it like a business, right? And so, like you said, if you have money coming in and then you're paying money out, also you need to look at what is my value proposition? What is my value return on the money I'm paying out? Whether that's a referral to a company, whether that's a cap to your brokerage, whether it's some subscription you pay for to help you with, your CRM, for example, your social media, like all those things. Like, what is my value return? Like, we need to look at this as a business. And something you hit on that I just wanted to mention, I remember when we moved to EXP, and Matt keeps mentioning that independent brokerage, that was my independent brokerage that we moved over there. He doesn't want to throw me under the bus, but he can. He was going to move a couple times, but he didn't. But anyway, when we moved to EXP, one of the things I thought is there's a possibility to become a net positive agent. So what is a net positive agent when I say that? It means that my expense that I pay the brokerage through the revenue stream of cap stock coming back and this or a revenue share, it's going to offset my cost. And while that was a possibility, like Ethan was saying, there's a lot of hoops I had to jump through to get to that. At Epic, that isn't the case. It was much easier. And so I am a net positive agent. Epic, through, stock stuff that they give me and through the revenue share, I make more than what I pay them for my cost to be there. And so to me, that was something that was important for me to have that opportunity, because I don't know any other brokerages that are not cloud-based that allow you to have an opportunity to exceed your revenue stream from the brokerage, whether it's stock or profit or revenue share, versus what you're paying to them. And that was something that I saw valuable, because at the end of the day, if I'm bringing business to this brokerage, what is my return from doing that? And like you said, one of the things I really love is that declining cap, and I haven't run across it anywhere. And Matt and I know have researched about every brokerage out there. So,
But isn't that crazy though, JJ? Like that literally blows my mind that you've got out of all these companies that if I it's always hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes, right? But in my mind, I'd like to think that if I was a business owner and I'm running a very successful brokerage, whether it's local or statewide or national, whatever, and I see I feel like I'd always be looking at the competition. My wife and I, we run a short-term rental business. One thing we do, we use like third-party software to spy on the competition. Like we want to know, because we're like, I feel like any good business owner, like part of being a good business owner is like the willingness to adapt, right? If you don't adapt, you're not going to be in business for very long. And that's what's crazy to me is I'm like, out of all these companies, if I was a big head honcho running this ship somewhere, I feel like I would be silly not to take a deep look at like, hey, what is my competition doing? I'm not saying I'm going to suddenly become them, right? Or I'm going to try and copy everything they're doing, but it's like best practices. And that's crazy to me that, like you said, we can be a net positive agent. I've never seen an opportunity like that before. And that's what just like blows my mind. And I'm like this feels too good to be true. Like I'm still kind of waiting. I'm like, where's the catch? Like I'm still waiting. Like where's the catch, you know? So
I've been waiting for 2 years. Haven't found it yet.
yeah.
You know what? A couple of things that stood out there too, like, Ethan, you mentioned like looking long term, especially as a business owner, where you're looking ahead with opportunities and ways to have ownership and things like that. I think that's where agents really struggle. It's hard to look beyond your current anniversary year. It is so hard as an agent to look beyond that, because you're stuck in the day-to-day activities. I'm helping this seller, I'm helping this buyer. It's so easy to get stuck in the day-to-day in the process of just assisting and serving people, that sometimes it's really hard to look internally at your own business and then look beyond that current anniversary year. Like that is so hard sometimes for a lot of people to do. So I think if you're able to take a step back and just really see like, how does this brokerage I'm aligned with, how does it help me, not just this year, my anniversary, but how does it help me 2 years from now, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? How does it position me, not just as an agent, but as a business owner? I think it's so hard for agents to look beyond that. And then the second point of being a net positive agent, I'd never even heard of that before. Like that wasn't on my radar at JJ's Independent. That
It's
was
like,
never
wait,
on my
it's like,
radar
wait, this
there.
is an option, right?
Yeah, that was never on my radar. And in the first 2 years while I was at EXP, because I was there 4 years, and I was an icon every year I was there. But it wasn't until I looked beyond my anniversary or even at EXP that I realized being a net positive agent is possible. And I was the last couple years there, and I am currently this year at Epic. And so I don't think you get there unless you kind of change your mindset and really look beyond your anniversary year. Like,
Yeah,
I really think that's hard for a lot of agents to do.
that's a really good point. But I think it might be more than that too. I think that's part of it. But as someone who literally just went through it, I think, and I'm just kind of calling many people to the table, myself included. I think lazy, like agents can be a little lazy sometimes, right? And it's not like we're just sitting on our hands doing nothing, but I think it's a lot of effort to like basically take your business and move it somewhere else, especially if you haven't put the right systems in place, like I hadn't, right? Like I think there's value in itself of like having your own domain, having control over all of your assets so that if you decide, maybe you're totally happy where you're at and you're like, I'm never going to move, like JJ was, right? And then until an opportunity pops up right in the face and you're like, I would be stupid not to do this. But if you haven't taken the time to set yourself up, it is going to be a little bit more work on the front end. And I just think that, like speaking for myself, I think sometimes like I can be a little lazy, right? Where it's like, man, that feels heavy to like take all of this stuff and figure out a way to get it all moved over, right? Like I think that sometimes a lot of agents in my mind are probably like, that's too much work, or oh, I'll look into that next year, right? Well, next year comes and they say the same thing, and they say the same thing, and it's just more comfortable. I think agents kind of fall into a trap of like, I'm comfortable. I don't really want to do all that work. That sounds really tedious, and that I just don't think it's worth it. But I think if they really like you said, took a step back and kind of peeked behind the curtain to see like, hey, how would this actually affect me though long term, right? I think more agents would be willing to put in that work because it's like a tiny little moment of pain for a long-term gain, right? A long-term gain and way more success. And I think the other facet is too, I think that as agents, we care a lot about what other people think of us. I don't know if that's just me. Maybe it's just me, but I think a lot of times we have this like fear of man where it's like, well, like I really want to be liked, or I really want them to think well of me. I want to be respected, and not just by my clients, but by my peers. And what will people think if I move to another company? Like, oh no, it's like we need to stop caring so much about what people think and not in a rude way, right? It doesn't mean we don't treat people with kindness and respect, but we need to stop allowing other people's opinions of us to affect like the decisions that we make for our business, right? Because I think that plays a part of it too. I know there's some people that they feel like, well, I just feel too bad leaving. I'd feel too bad because they've done so much for me. I'm like, well, what did they do for you? Well, they just, they paid for my training. They paid for my licensing and all this. And I'm like, and how long have you been an agent for? Oh, like quite a few years, stuff. And I'm like, well, I mean, like, how long do you think you owe them that? Didn't you already pay them back? But I think we just get in our heads sometimes, and that's what I meant earlier when I said I was a mercenary. It's more in the sense that I'm a mercenary in that I'm not like loyal to a fault, right? Like, and I think some agents are loyal to a fault where it's like there are lots of good businesses out there. There's plenty of good brokerages, but what if there's a brokerage like Epic that can totally transform your business, and you just got to push past a little bit of fear, right? I heard a saying once where it's like they said everything you want is on the other side of fear. And I'm like, that is so true. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, a couple things you said that I was thinking about. One is that the quote about like I'll consider other people's opinions once they start paying for my bills.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then the second thing, and keep in mind, I'm the state broker here for Iowa. One piece of advice I'd give to any agent and any agent on this call, no matter what brokerage you're with, be broker agnostic. I've had that conversation with Ethan about when he's moving over, like when you're setting stuff up and you're moving over to Epic, everything should be broker agnostic. What do I mean by that? My email for my business isn't Epic. My business email is the Johannes Group. My website is the Johannes Group. Like I like to look at my business to say, how can I make it broker agnostic? Not that I ever plan to leave Epic, but I always want to be in the position to be able to move and make it less painful. So even if you're going to stay where you're at and you're hearing us talk about it, and you're like, yeah, no, that's good. Maybe I'll think about it in a year or two. I'd tell you in this slow time, how do you make your business more broker agnostic? Not that I mean, there's certain things we have to do, like you have to have, your brokerage on your sign and stuff like that. But what systems are you going to have a lot more pain moving from if you aren't set up broker agnostically? Because, like Ethan mentioned earlier, the caps are going up places. So if your brokerage just doubled your cap, are you going to be able to move? Well, if you're broker agnostic in your systems, well then yes, you may make it easier to move. So just something to keep in mind as you're thinking about this. So along with that question on that part of, kind of the reasons and the move, what do you think in conversations with agents, because you've had them, over the course of several years now, what do you think agents miss or overlook in looking at their business and or when they're looking at other brokerages? Because obviously we see agents move brokerages. What do you think that some agents might overlook when they're, again, valuing their business and then also valuing the brokerage that they're at or ones that they're considering looking at?
Yeah, I think one thing that's I think one thing brokerages do a great job of is they do a great job of trying to just sell you on them as a company, but they don't do as great a job of explaining how what they offer applies to the individual agent. And I know everyone's always trying to like get better at that, right? And make that better. But I think for me, that was something again that I felt like um when I first again, you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. As a starting agent, when I first started my first year, man, I'm just like running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I'm trying to like learn as much as I possibly can. I'm like what is Orangeburg? Like I'm just like losing my mind a little bit. But I think as you get more established and you start, it's like riding a bicycle, right? You're gonna fall down a few times, but eventually you pick it up, you don't even think about it. So I think one problem is we get stuck in the business. We don't take time to kind of like take a step back and work on our businesses and think, okay, and I'm preaching to the choir here, like because I see this in my own business where it's like, okay, I'm pretty consistent. Like I'm consistent in my business and the numbers that I do. However, I would like to get here, but how am I going to do that? Right. And so I think one thing that agents maybe don't maybe wrestle with, because it's something I would wrestle with. I don't know if maybe I'm alone in this, but is like setting like tangible goals and not just setting the goal, but like coming up with almost like a business plan of like how am I going to get there? And is the brokerage that I'm with how is the brokerage I'm with helping me to do that? Like in what tangible specific ways are they going to help me do that? Are they going to save me money? Are they going to save me time? Are they going to help me like be a better agent to reach more people? And I know most brokers would be like, yep, 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 we do all those things, but like practically, like how does that play out? I think that would be something that I've thought through, and I think every agent should think through. And you have to forgive me, JJ. I honestly forgot what your original question was. Hit me with it again.
No, just, what in a lot of conversations, because, I see this and we kind of answered it before, which was that agents I don't think agents look at their business as a business. They look at real
Yes.
estate as a job,
Yep.
right? A career, it's a
100%.
career, not a business. And that's different. When I worked in IT versus I had my own real estate business, those are two different things. And sometimes I get caught working in the business and I have to remind myself to step out and work on the business as well. But my question was, what do you think? And it could just be that they don't take their business as a business. They don't think about their business as a business, but what do you think agents might overlook or not think about from their business perspective, or even from if they're looking at other brokerages, do they get caught into, the shiny object syndrome, or what do you think that they miss on that?
Yeah, I think it is that. I think it's the shiny object syndrome. I think it's and again, I've been guilty of this too, right? Like sometimes we're always looking for like just we're kind of looking. We're kind of looking around like, well, what's everyone else doing? Well, oh, I should be doing that, right? Or for a while, and if you're a Jeep driver, no offense, but for a hot minute there, it seemed like everybody had a Jeep. Like I was looking around like, what is up with this? And if you look at Jeep drivers, they've all got these random rubber ducks in the top. I'm like what? Like what? It's a Jeep thing. Okay, cool, cool. Like what? But I feel and I don't think this is just exclusive to agents. I think people in general, we always want to try and be on the in, or we're like, okay, what's everybody else doing, right? Part of me is like, man, I think we just need to like put our head down and like focus on our business and really like put our head down and figure out, okay, where do I want my business to be? Like if you don't like where you're at, you there's only one person you can blame. You got to look yourself in the mirror and have an honest conversation with yourself and say, you are the problem, right? But then don't stay there. Figure out how am I going to fix this, and who is going to set me up for the best success. And again, not to keep bringing this back, but I mean that's why we're here, right? Like why Epic? I think for me, when I'm looking at Epic, and I was comparing it with some other brokerages, because I was considering a few, right? I mentioned Real and a couple others. But when I was looking at that, I was like, what are they actually going to do on a day to day? To help me in my business and to do more and to be more efficient and more effective with what I'm trying to accomplish. And honestly, like you talked about like the 90 some benefits. I mean, this might sound stupid, but for me, it's a huge deal. When I found out that Epic pays for putting out a sign, I'm like, say what now? Like what? You're telling me I don't have to haul my butt out there in the freezing cold with my DeWalt drill and masonite bit to like dig down into the ground and throw my freaking sign in the yard? Yes, please. Again, shut up and take my money. Like I'm like I am all in. And again, like I'm sure any agent could pay to have that service done, right? But in my opinion, I'm like that's brilliant. Like who thought of this? They're like, "Hey, guys, in a board meeting, they're like, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to come up with some great benefits for our agents. What do you guys think?" Dude, I'm tired of hauling my butt out in the freezing cold. Let's add sign drop off. Dude, I'd give that guy a raise. I'd be like, dude, give this man a raise. That's brilliant. Like, and I know that sounds stupid, right? It's like anybody can do that. But in my opinion, I mean, that was huge. I love it, right? And you talk about, I mean, there's countless benefits. I know I'm kind of like sidetracking a little bit, but those are the real things that like we have to deal with, right? As an agent, you get a listing, you're not going to put a sign on the yard. Like, come on, it's free marketing, but that's one small piece in the puzzle, right? Logistically, how are you going to do that? Most agents, I'm going to haul my butt out there with my masonite drill, or I'm going to have my spouse do it, or I'm going to pay the neighborhood kid, or I'm going to do something to get my sign out there. Well, now I don't have to deal with that anymore. I can literally sit in the comfort of my own home. I press one button, boop, send the form, done. I'm like, you're kidding me. This is amazing. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
That
agree.
kind of leads to my next question, actually. So, JJ alluded, to the 90 plus benefits and what I always tell people is like it's overwhelming, right? 90 there's literally a plethora of things that are at our fingertips the expectation isn't that you're going to utilize all of them, right? Because my business is slightly different than JJ's, is slightly different than yours, and so I may lean into certain benefits more than you two do, and vice versa, right? So some of these benefits are going to be more impactful for others, and then some might be more impactful to me. So, I realize you haven't dug into all of them, but obviously you've done enough research to this point where you felt like this was a good place to continue your business. Give me like the top one, maybe two benefits, like specific benefits that you were like, wow, that's going to help me. That's going to make my life as an agent easier. That's going to really cut my costs. That's going to make my business more lean. That aligns with my goals. Give me like two very specific benefits where you were like, this is what it is. This is where it's at.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, just right off the bat, we'll kind of pair these two, right? I just said like the sign thing. Like maybe people don't care about that. For me, when it starts getting cold out, dude, I'm gonna be like doing backflips going, this is amazing. Let's freaking go. Like if you're an agent down in like sunny Florida and you're like, dude, I don't know what your problem is. Like you have not like experienced the true suffering of being out in the freezing cold, right? And hey, mad props to every like blue collar guy out there who's working out in the cold. Dude, I have so much respect for you because like going out there and throwing a freaking sign in the yard doesn't take that much effort, but it stinks, right? No one like loves doing that. So that was huge. I love that they offer free listing photos. I'm like, say what now? Again, just more savings for my business. If I'm not spending money on that, guess what I am spending money on? Marketing. I can put that money back into my business for other things that actually matter, which is like incredible. So I love that. I love the fact that they include so many like there's like so many paid subscriptions to stuff. I didn't realize. I'm still like just on the tip of the iceberg. I'm like, so wait, you pay for this and you pay for this and you pay for this. So like listing off like Canva Pro, like Realtor.com Pro, talking about thanks.io because I thought that was super cool, which so like direct mail, but I didn't realize that you have to pay like a subscription. Guess who covers it? That's right, Epic does. Amazing. I'm like, this is flipping incredible. And again, many of these benefits I haven't like I'm just at the tip of the iceberg. I'm gonna dive into every freaking one of them. Like, make no mistake, I'm gonna like master these suckers at some point. But Rome wasn't built in a day. But I just say like those things are huge. Like th those two big ones for me. I also love the fact that again, this feels a little gimmicky, but I like it. It's kind of fun, right? It's like, hey, free car wash. Hey, some billboard time. We'll cut you in. And like I signed up for all that. I'm like, that's amazing, right? Like, do I think that that's going to make or break my business? No. But is it like a cool perk that like I'm like I that's something I wouldn't normally spend money on. I'm not going to go out of my way to spend money on that. But they're like, hey, we got you, bro. One other one, sorry, there's so many I'm just thinking of, but I know you only asked me for like two, but dude, there's so many. It's so good. Every time I have a listing, I always put together, now I guess I should say not always. It depends on the property, but generally, I will be putting quite a bit of money towards like social media ads. So whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, I'll be putting money towards that. And they're like, "Hey, dude, we got you. We're already going to be spending money on it." I'm like, "What?" Like you're telling me you're doing free advertising. Well, what do I need to do to get that? Nothing. You get a listing, we got you. What? Like I don't know. It's the little things. It's not that any one thing by itself is like, yep, that's why I'm switching to Epic, right? That's why I said at the beginning, I feel like it's just like the icing on the cake. I love that they just offer this, and I'm not doing anything differently. I'm just doing the same thing I would have always done at any company, and they're just handing this over to me. Amazing.
Yeah, and we haven't even touched on like the personal benefits from healthcare to roadside assistance and that type of stuff. And one of the things
Yeah.
that, you mentioned, and this is one of the feelings I had when I was looking at it, is the mindset that I feel that I appreciated that they have had and have, because they keep adding benefits, is they're looking at things that what can make the agent's life better, what can make it easier, what can make it more cost effective, And so taking photos, that's a cost savings for me. I don't have to pay for photos now. I don't have to go out and install the sign. All these things help me with my business. It's not just some gimmicky thing like, hey, we're gonna give you this, or you're gonna have access to this training. There is training stuff in there, but it's practical benefits on stuff I'm already doing and I'm already spending money on, or taking care of me as a person, with like the healthcare and the roadside assistance and those type of things. So I just feel like when they think about these benefits, they're like, will this help our average, our normal, our typical agent? Is this going to help them? Yes or no? And if it's not, they're like, no, it's not going to help them. I feel like they're going to say no, and they just keep looking for those benefits. So that's something I really appreciate about their vision on it.
Yeah, and that's the thing I kind of said earlier too, is I feel like that's one big difference that I saw with Epic that I really appreciate is I don't again, this is not a knock on other companies, but it's just the fact that like I don't see that out there. I don't see companies going, "Hmm, what can we do to help our agents?" Right? Like more than just there's great trainings, right? Everyone has great trainings. That's fine. But like more than that, like the practical stuff, right? Like we talked about, like signage, listing photos, headshots, like access to like premium like subscriptions and stuff like that. Like I feel like before those are all things, guess what, are coming out of my pocket. Like that's just, hey, you're running your own business. Guess what? This is like being an agent 101, right? But the fact that this company would go out of their way to say, hey, look, we get it. Like we get that these are real costs that you have as an agent. What can we do to help alleviate that? We're going to take care of some of these things so that again, it just it's just like if I don't know, there's probably like some cool like principle or term for it, but basically the fact that I'm not spending money on these things mean it allows me in my business to now spend money on the other things that I want to accomplish, right? Whether that's like further marketing for my client, right? From getting more exposure for them, or whether that's like marketing for myself and doing more lead generation, right? Like there's a million who no agent is going to say, no, please, I don't want to save more money for my business. No one's going to say that, right? I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and in an essence of time, I know we're getting up close to the top of the hour and wanted to leave some time for questions. I'll hit one more question. I'll open it up to everybody for questions. So if an agent came to you today and they're like, "Hey, I'm curious about Epic, curious about your what you saw, what your experience was, like, what would be the first thing or something you definitely would want to impress upon them as far as either the move over or the discovery phase or anything like that?"
Yeah, so I'll try and be brief because I know we're short on time, but just real quickly, I'd say if it's a brand new agent who's thinking about getting into the business, and I've actually had one of these conversations already, what I try to focus on is, hey, you don't know what you don't know. Like, so come in with eyes wide open. But one reason why I chose Epic and why I think you should choose Epic is because of all the support that they give you, not just in terms of like, obviously, we've got Matt, our area lead, we've got you as like our broker, and obviously we've got other amazing agents that can help support them along the way. But that's not necessarily any different than another company. I think what sets us apart is all the specific tools and resources that Epic provides. Um, that's going to be like a game changer. And honestly, an agent coming in and this being all they know will kind of be a little bit spoiled. They're just going to be spoiled right out of the gate. So, and then if you're an existing agent, if there's an existing agent who's like, hey, I what's up with this? Like, why Epic? Like, why would you choose this? The big things I'm going to tell them is I'm going to say, look, I don't know what your company does, but my guess is when you cap, you probably get a pat on the back. You probably say, hey, congratulations, you're a capper. Here's a gift or a gift card or something, right? And then at the award ceremony, if they have one, they'll bring you up and say, he's a capper, or she's a capper, woo, and that's it. As like with Epic, dude, they're gonna literally give like again, you have to. There's no smoke and mirrors here, right? You said we're all open books. You got to hit those 24 transactions. But again, I feel like that's just doing your job. That's just like pursuing real estate, right? Burn the ships. There's no escape. You're dead on, right? If you're doing that, the company says, look, we want to reward you for that. We know how hard it is. We know that like this industry is not for everyone. And the fact that you're willing to put in this time and commitment, we're not just going to give you a pat on the back. We're not just going to give you an award. We're going to say, hey, look, that cap you paid to us, we're giving it back to you, bro. Straight up in company stock. Oh, and by the way, there's no hoops to jump through. Amazing. Like I'm going to hit that every time. That and the fact that again, like what I talked about at the beginning, I know I sound like a broken record here, but I can't over stress it, is that in a world where costs go up, Epic is doing everything it can to bring your costs down. And I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Great points there. As we get close to 11, want to open it up for anybody who has any questions. Feel free to open up your mic or throw them in the chat. That way we can answer your questions that you have as we carried the conversation for about 50 minutes there.
I have a question. I appreciate the panel and all the great points you guys mentioned. But my question is, which is more relevant to Iowa than Georgia. When I talk to agents, it seems to be like the agents here, they are sold into these old brokerages for one reason or the other. What did you guys find the best way to navigate the conversation with them to try to get them to open up, to listen, because most of the agents I talk to, I said, you have to look at being a real estate agent as a single owner of a business. The only reason you are attached to brokerage because the laws say so. And so my question, what do you guys find, the best way to rebuttal some of the objections?
I can chime in first. I think looking at me specifically when I was introduced to EXP, almost 6 years ago, and then Epic almost 2 years ago, the people I spoke to, they were inquisitive, like, Matt, what's most important to you? Right? And so you kind of go down that path. Well, this is most important to me, whether it's cost savings or it's, tools or benefit, like what's most important to you? And then you have to, as the agent guiding that conversation, you have to find, well, this is our solution to that. This is how we can make that better. This is how we can make that easier for you. And some people in general, Amir, they're just not going to be open to a conversation. Like some people they just won't be for another reason or another. But, I think the best bet to get people to really look into things or at least be open-minded is figure out what's most important to them. Is what's most important to you? I know Ethan kind of hit on earlier. Is most important to you having an office in this big building and this wow factor when you walk in? Okay, well, we might not be the greatest fit because we don't have that. But if that's not the most important and cost savings is most important, well, here's our solution to that. So, I'll let JJ or Ethan chime in next, but I feel like you really have to know who you're talking to and know them to the point where you know what's most important.
Well, and Amir, I'll just share real quick, JJ, if you're cool with that. I'll just share from my experience. So for me, like like I think, and again, I don't know if every agent experiences this, but I think sometimes agents have like a misguided sense of loyalty where, and maybe, and here's the thing, maybe it is that they're just like, look, I just straight up like these people, right? Like, and again, I like all the people that I've done business with and have been part of the companies in the past. Like, I've got no ill will towards any of them, but I think that sometimes for some people they talk about like the culture, and I think for some people like the people they work with, like those are their close friends. Like that's where they find community. And so even if that might not be the best model for them in their mind, I'm with this company because we're tight. Like all these people, these are my people, whatever. And other people, it might be just laziness. They're like, well, that's way too much work. I'll think about that next year or down the road. I don't have time for that right now. And I think for other people like me, where it might just be more of like a timing thing, right? It might not be like a not ever, just not right now. I've got a million things going on. Like it sounds good, but I need to take time to look into it more. I don't even know exactly what it's all about. I have an idea, right? But I don't really understand it. And I've got like 10 fires I need to put out. I don't have time to think about this right now, right? But I think just like real estate, like it's a timing thing. So the only reason that I'm here is timing worked out, right? Where it was like these guys held that event, I was able to go and actually like have my expectations were versus reality. I was able to realize here's what I think Epic is, here's what Epic actually is. And that made the shift in my mind. I'm like, I'd be an idiot not to jump. But I didn't jump at that point, right? Because for me, I was like, well, I'm 100% cap. I don't want to give that up. Anything I bring in, I get 100% of. So for me, it was timing. So I don't know if that helps, but yeah.
Yeah, I would just kind of double down on some of the things that were said there. I think having curiosity to see what they have. I personally feel there is no perfect brokerage for every agent in the United States and the world, right? But I think every agent should have a curiosity to find what's the best fit for them. What helps them with their whatever they value the most. Um, so that's going to be something that you just want to have curiosity with them. And then if you're looking at like how do you objection handle? So I'm an anti-sales person. I feel like I just want to understand what someone's doing, and if I can help them, and if that's another direction, that's completely fine with me. I'm the same way with clients. But I would think about like what is asking them what is one thing in your brokerage that you wish you could change, and then also talking to them about like the future, like what, if you're here for another 10 years, what does that look like for you? How does that help you with maybe retirement? How does this help you with additional income streams? Like what do they value? And then asking questions about that. So there's this, four quadrant block about, negative present goes to negative future. And then how do you get them into a positive present and a positive future with your solution? Other questions. It can be Epic related, it can be benefits related. What Ethan's anything for Ethan as well. And
Throw me in
everybody.
the hot seat. I'm not scared.
What's that?
I said, throw me in the hot seat. I'm not scared.
Oh, it's a Thanksgiving week and everyone's got themselves on mute and cameras off. That's okay. Yeah, if you guys have questions, definitely put them in the chat or open up your mic. If nothing else, we can wrap here in a minute or two.
Yeah, I just want to say that I've enjoyed the conversation today. Like this is the first time we've really gotten like a inside look at what someone's thought process was from the outside coming in, right? Because we were at EXP for a while and we had, a core group of people that were there. And then when we made this change to Epic, a lot of those people saw the benefit and how it could help them. And so a lot of our core group, you know, made that change as well. So to hear an outsider's perspective of someone who's been in the game a while and done a few things. I find it very interesting just to hear someone else's perspective. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Ethan.
Yeah, I liked it. No, this was great. Honestly, this felt like a podcast to me. I'm like, yeah, we're doing a podcast, baby. Let's go, you know.
Yeah. Real quick on Natalie's question, if you saw it in the chat, I recently saw that there was a 401k benefit available as well. So they do have a 401k benefit. Um, and so, what that 401k benefit is, there's currently no match on that. The benefit of that is depending on how much you want to put away, right? There's limitations to put right into an IRA or something like that. So they do have a 401k benefit where they cover the administrative costs for that. So it allows you to put in more additional money and have that come right out of your commission check. When you fill out what's called a commission disbursement agreement that says, hey, I'm getting this money. Here's where I want to go. I want to buy some stock. I want to put some money in 401k. You guys have these philanthropy endeavors. I'm going to put a little bit of money towards that. That's all something you can fill out, including that 401k option. Now, they did announce at the beginning of this month at a leadership retreat that I went to that they are going to provide a match starting in the spring. And that is going to be for leadership people only, I believe, to start. So they're going to do up to 3%. And that is going to be on stock. Now, we'll see how that evolves over time. It might go to everyone, but again, I like full transparency. It is going to be, when I say leadership, I mean someone who is an area leader, a state broker. Those are the positions, or if you're like a regional support person. So, but a lot of benefits kind of change over time, and I could see that potentially changing. But right now in spring, it's going to be the match is just going to be on anybody who's in a leadership position. Just FYI.
Oh, rats. I didn't know that. That's okay.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
There's more along with that. So I actually did a consultation with the person who's in charge of the 401ks. So it isn't just a 401k. So the 401k does have a max annual contribution of 23,500. No administrative fees. I mean, that can easily save you 1 to 1.5% if you were to go get a 401k not company provided. Another benefit to that, they actually have somebody who can consult you on budgeting and things like that as well. Almost like a financial coach to an extent. I mean, it's not free probably forever, but I've dabbled in that with them too, just to see, what their ideas were, what their thoughts were. So it's not just the 401k. There is a little bit of consulting piece with that too. But yeah, the 401k is available. If you are someone, and I'm kind of big into the investing piece. So if you are someone who has IRAs or Roths, and you end up maxing those out every year and you want somewhere else where you can invest some money into the market, that 401k is a good option because again, you're saving the 1 to maybe 1.5% on those admin fees. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but that definitely will add up over time if you're paying that.
Yes. And along those lines, because we're talking about investment, there is company stock you can buy. It is currently private. The plan is to go public. They've been talking about 2026 sometime next year. So that's another investment tool that I'm taking advantage of for sure. So
Yeah, and that investment's for everybody. So whether you want to
yes,
purchase
anybody
that,
can buy that.
yeah,
Yep.
you can buy that through your commission checks.
Yep.
You can also, like Ethan alluded to earlier, you can get awarded some of that just for doing what you're doing anyways. So even if you're like, oh, I don't want to spend any of my own capital, purchasing stock, you don't have to. You can just do what you're doing and receive awards, in the form of equity within the company. So
Doing your
that is
first
very
deal, you get
unique.
stock.
What's
Capping,
that?
I said when you do your first deal, you get stock. When you cap, you stock. There's multitude of different ways that you
I
get
think when you
stock for
join, you get
free.
stock. Ethan's got stock right now, I bet.
100% I do. 100%.
Yes.
And that I know we're beating a dead horse here today, but that's what I'm talking about with I feel like the company is like going out of its way where it's like, how can I reward you? And I'm like, I love that. I'm like, where was this? Where was
Yeah.
this for like all time? So I love it. Um, Random question though, real quick, JJ, on that. For the stock that you can buy, is it 10 up to 10% of your check
Yes.
or how does that work? Okay.
Yep. 0, 5, or 10%. And then
Okay.
you purchase that at a 20% discount. Yep.
Nice.
That stock that you purchase with your own money is 100% vested at the point that you purchase it. If you are gifted stock, meaning any stock that given to you that you haven't purchased, there's a 3-year vesting period. That's an SEC Securities Exchange Commission rule on for any company. So anything that's gifted to you has a 3-year vesting period. But
But any
stock
money that,
purchase is 100% right away.
so if I needed to, I could pull that out.
Hmm.
Nice.
You'd have to sell, the company would buy it back from you
Got it. Yep.
at your purchase price. Yep. Any other questions?
Shameless plug too. I know this was more about talking with Ethan and getting Ethan's perspective. But I love all the talk about benefits and things. And so if that's something you're interested in learning more about those benefits, I would encourage people check out my YouTube page. Me and JJ have done videos in the past that literally just go through all the benefits, and you can certainly watch that there. Unfortunately, it seems like as soon as we put something out, it's out of date because we either add something or something's been enhanced.
Yeah.
So it's still a really good resource. But things do change. So I would encourage anybody who's curious, reach out to Ethan, reach out to me, reach out to JJ, reference our other video that's on my YouTube page. I mean, like JJ said in the very beginning, he's an open book, I'm an open book, and I'm pretty certain Ethan's probably the same way.
Yep. All right. Well, there's no more questions. With that, we will wrap. Appreciate everyone attending. Appreciate Matt being on here as well to co-host our podcast, I guess we'll call it. And then appreciate you, Ethan, being on and making the move over and sharing your insight, wisdom, and knowledge throughout this.
Absolutely. Thanks for all your help, guys. I'm excited. Let's go get it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for everyone attending. Appreciate you all being here, and I hope you guys have a Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. God bless.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.